Assalamu alaikum students, welcome to PMDC online lecture room. I am Miss Fazeelat, lecturer in English at PMDC Peshawar. Today we are going to study our next essay, and that is Refuge from Nightmare. The essay is written by Gerald Gold and it is taken from the collection of essays entitled Refuge from Nightmare and Other Essays. The author starts his essay by his walk. He describes a lonely walk on a hill in Buckinghamshire. He stood at one end of the hill, and although it was somewhat dark and the winter season was just over, as can be judged from the coming of the flowers before the arrival of the swallow, mean that is a bird, and the arrival of this bird means the arrival of summer season. So according to author, this bird and these early flowers showed the courage of the British people and their patience with the cold winter season of their country. The author also is all praise for the peasants of Britain for their hard work in the tough British soil. The author also brings the reader to attention at some collection of stars at the time when the day is about to end and the stars are about to show themselves in gradual increases of number. Some farm have fires and their smoke is the only indication of human life. Otherwise, there is nothing of the modern humdrum of life, such as cars, aeroplanes, or telegraph poles, etc., and to break the inactivity which is traditional or the fashion of the village or open countryside. A horse was being taken into stable. This was a heavy fat horse which was quiet and one that drives the plough. So there was nothing else to disturb the sight except a building more than 200 years old. The author thinks this to be an opportunity to see a part of life which has died a long time ago with time. So it is the opposite of life, and at the same time its existence is at the same time as life. This is lie which does not know anything about the Great War or even the wars of Napoleon. So this is a scene ages and will probably not change for many more years to come. No kind of outside influence can change the pattern, which may change or even destroy cities' inventions of very small scale except births and deaths. Adventure except of the small romances of lover were to be found in nothing which created progress or decline. So time was moving on at its slowest in the experience which is recounted by the author. The evening gave way to morning and nothing new happened. The author thinks that it was strange that he should be there in midst of such a pastoral scene, far away from the printing press, the stock markets, and the business places of the city. He felt he was away from humans except for the slow walking man who was leading the horse. The author says that he is not the one to have many feelings of home or become a person who loves the smell of the country lands, but admits that he is sentimental. The author needed some kind of assurance, and so the author entered a public inn and asked for a pint or a strong drink, and that was liquor. Here he saw a peasant who was old and become a part of the earth of the countryside. This peasant had lines and wrinkles on his face like the trunk of a tree. This peasant greeted him with contempt. This made the author self-conscious of his city clothes. The old man was eating bread and cheese, and since the author felt out of place in such company, he and the old man sipped a pint and sensibly kept to himself for some time. Finally, feeling ashamed and embarrassed for not being able to strike up conversation on petty subject, the author took hold of a daily newspaper. He had already read in London and reread the headlines. The author doesn't remember what they were, but he recollected the world, which was nothing but a world of fear and quarrel. There was some mention of statement of peace, but these gave the writer hardly any comfort at all as far as reality was concerned. The author's opinion was that man had become quite an inadequate animal, separated from the earth's contact, that his machine had made him a mad person, and reality speaking, the world was full of poisonous snakes which brought on worry, sorrow, and threats if one had the feeling to realize what the world had come. One can have hopes for better and cleaner humans, and there is every reason for this hope. But the general effect is of dirtiness and woe and misery. Those who love peace and think of the old problem know that many lives have been laid in its cause until real peace can come to this world. The countryside is nothing but working at the soil and growing it. It is lonely and under natural phenomena such as the sky, the road, and the fields. This can make a person believe when a person enters the world, he can hear nothing but voices speaking of war, a world gone mad with various noises, mankind rising up, shouting and crying, and crazy orchestras. By this time, the author had finished his drink and walked out into the open. It appeared that the air had become darker and colder than before. Of course, there were more stars in the sky. Thus, the author went out to enjoy once again as a nightfall scene. Hope students, you got all the important point of this essay.